Well, I want to welcome everyone to Iowa City Noon Rotary. Great to see all your smiling faces today. My name is Eric Weiler. I'm your president this year. We start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could please unmute yourself. We will put up a screen of the American flag momentarily.
I got so distracted with good conversation that
yes,
it's terrible, but it's good.
It's the anticipation of waiting.
Right, get all excited for that flag. Here it comes, the American flag that we've all been waiting for.
All right. Well, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the United States
of America
and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Great, thank you. Now we're going to kick it back over to Devin for Zoom tips.
Yes, and much anticipated Zoom tips, your daily Zoom tips. You know what to do. There's the view option up in the right top corner. If you're on a computer, you can switch between speaker and gallery, and then there are slides. You can slide that slider in the middle so you can see either more of the slides or more of the speaker. I encourage you to do that. Please sign in the chat if you would for attendance purposes. And you can also chat privately with people if there's a little drop down, you can find a bunch of names. And then finally, I will encourage you to use the reactions tab to do the party emoji or whatever emoji you can do. You go in there, there's a search function, and you can find things like, let's see, house. One can do a house emoji even. And yeah, use that to add a little bit of fun to the meeting, but also check out the raise hand there and use that if you are a guest or a visitor, or if you have questions, or if you want to say something. Back to you, President Eric.
Okay, thank you, Devin. So we want to welcome our guest today. So if you're a visiting Rotarian, or if you're a Rotarian who has a guest, please click raise hand and we'll call on you to introduce your guest to us. See if we have any today. I know we've got later in the meeting, we've got 2 new members we will be inducting, and we'll introduce them at that time, which is always an exciting part of the meeting. So with no visitors or guests, if you have an announcement, click raise hand. And I have a few announcements to share. I want to encourage everyone, usually early in the week, I try to do it Monday morning, but I send out a weekly Rotary email, and it talks about our upcoming programs, and it talks about our ways to get involved in the community with our Rotary projects. So make sure you look for that every Monday or Tuesday morning. Our club has a local grants committee, and every year we select a handful of organizations to receive up to $500. And these are to support nonprofits who are doing good work in our community. And I wanted to congratulate an organization called CARTHA. It was an organization founded by one of our past Rotary presidents, Usha, and they received a $500 grant from our club last week. And it's a Music in Park initiative. And the title of it is Inspiring Creative Educational Workshops for Underprivileged School-Aged Children. So congratulations to Cartha and Usha, and just another thing we can feel good about some of the work that our club is doing with these $500 grants. We're able to help some nonprofits and help support their good work. Last week here, we celebrated our club's 106th birthday. Our club was officially chartered on December 1st of 1915. So 106 years old. I think we look pretty darn good for 106 years old. But this got me thinking about birthdays. So if you have a December birthday, click raise hand. We just want to wish you a happy birthday. And I know, see, we have 51 people, so we should have a handful, maybe, 3-4 folks. Anyone with a December birthday? I thought we would have a couple. Well, if you're too shy to raise your hand, if we have any birthdays, happy birthday to you. And I know I saw Joe Hughes on the call. Joe, you're just getting up. Do you want to talk about the Salvation Army bell ringing coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have signed up for 2 different dates to have bell ringing for the Salvation Army with our fellow Rotarians. I can post the link in the chat. We actually have quite a few people signing up already. we're looking for mainly some afternoon spots. I think tomorrow afternoon, we need one person to fill in at like 1:15 or 1:30 at the Fairway on Mormon Trek Boulevard. And then next week on Saturday, we have a couple afternoon spots. If those times don't work for you, but you do want to volunteer, please go to the Salvation Army website and you can just sign up directly to ring whenever it works for you. I think they're really struggling to find bell ringers with the labor market the way it is, and just less volunteers as well due to COVID. So I see a lot of unmanned kettles around the area. So if anyone's willing to step up and do that, like we say, it might not warm your toes and your fingers, but it warms your heart.
Great. Yeah, a great opportunity to get more involved in the community and give back. And thank you to Joe for helping to coordinate that for us. This week for our Rotary Moment, we wanted to celebrate the life of one of our Rotarians who passed away last week, Chuck Hesse, longtime Rotarian. I looked in our records. Chuck joined our club back in 1974. So he was a member of our club for nearly 50 years. And I'm not going to read word for word his obituary, but I just wanted to share, highlight a few things from Chuck's obituary. He passed away on November 30th, and he passed away at the Birdhouse Hospice Home. And if you remember, our club did our community service grant at the Birdhouse about 3 years ago. So kind of touching that in Chuck's last days, looking out the window, he would have seen some of the outdoor improvements that our club helped provide. So that kind of a nice Rotary connection there. Chuck was born on March 4th, 1936 in Waverly, Iowa. He attained his from Iowa State University in 1958, and he earned his medical doctorate in 1962 from the University of Iowa. Chuck was also a lieutenant in the Medical Corps of the United States Navy, serving in Japan. And after he got out of the service, he established his career practice in Iowa City from 1970 to 1996. He was in private practice with Dr. Lowell Lumen, Stanley Greenwald, and Doug Johnson. They practiced from 1970 to 1996, and their practice served Mercy Hospital of Iowa City. Professionally, Chuck was the president of the Johnson County Mental Health Board. He was past president of the Mercy Hospital medical staff. He was president and member of the Mercy Hospital Foundation Board. He was a family practice instructor for the University of Iowa Hospital, and he was a medical director of the Mercy Hospital Physician Organization. And community-wide, Chuck served on boards for the United Way of Johnson County, the Nest of the Johnson County Board. He was a Rotarian, as I mentioned. He was a member of the American Legion, and he was a trumpeter who played and served on the board for the New Horizons Band. Chuck is survived by his wife, Ann, of 64 years, and their daughter and 3 sons. And when I asked for thoughts about Chuck, a few of the things I wanted to share that our Rotarians provided to me. Chuck was a very friendly and able musician. I treasure the memories of the concerts we played together in retirement care facilities and at other community events. And another Rotarian said, Chuck was a thoughtful, caring man of principle, commitment, discipline, and vision. So we all see all the great things that Chuck did. I know we're going to miss him being a Rotarian for 47 years, all the work that he did in our medical community with Mercy and with all his other involvement. So if you could please join me, Rotarians, I'd like to just take a few seconds of silence in honor of our friend Chuck. Great, thank you. And I see Jim Merchant, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things about Chuck.
Yep.
Chuck and Ann were neighbors of ours twice, once in Manville Heights and then again here in Terra Ridge. And just a couple of anecdotes about Chuck. When we moved into Terra Ridge, he was the first one to call me and say, you know, come, let me pick you up and take you to men's group this Friday. And the second one, our Rotary Kerber Heart Safe Community Campaign, we asked for volunteers to do CPR training. And although Chuck was not well at the time, he volunteered to do that. And just the kind of guy he was. Great neighbor, great friend, and a devoted Rotarian. He is missed.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I just wanted to say he was an obstetrician gynecologist, which nobody mentioned, I think. And so in addition to surgery, he delivered thousands of babies over the years here in the community.
Yep. Thank you for mentioning that. Linda Farkas, you had your hand up real quick. Did you have something or nope? Okay. Oh, Gary Pesha, Gary.
Just responding to Jim Scott's comment, Chuck delivered one of our two daughters, and so he was a very special person to our family as well.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing those memories, and yeah, please keep his wife Ann and family in our thoughts and prayers. Now this week we have two new Rotarians to induct to our club, and it's always exciting to welcome new members to our group. And our new Rotarians are Bill Furlong and Jared Watts. And Bill is sponsored by Rotarian Steve Schomburg. And Steve, would you like to share a few words with us about Bill?
I would. Thank you very much. Bill and I share interest in farming. He's been farming many more years than I have, but we both have farms in Muscatine County, and coincidentally, we share fence lines. I would say we shared fence lines until recently when Bill suggested we remove the fences, that maybe our generations of families no longer needed a fence to keep things well. So, and we did. So he's a special person to me. When I retired from higher education and returned to overseeing our family farms, Bill was one of the first people that reached out to me and welcomed me to the business. Bill has a genuine love for both the urban and farm communities. Like me, while he farms in Muscatine County, he lives in Iowa City. And he's made a commitment to making them safe and prosperous. For example, he just finished a term on the board of directors of the Iowa State University Southeast Iowa Research and Demonstration Farm, and was part of organizing an initiative in the College of Public Health on farm safety. He served on the board for the Community Foundation of Johnson County and is an advisor to the Center for Rural Affairs. Bill will make a great Rotarian. Welcome, Bill.
Great. And yes, Steve, thank you for bringing Bill to our club. And our other new Rotarian is Jared Lyons. Jared is sponsored by me. Jared works for the Watts Group. He is their Director of Property Management, and he's also a licensed realtor for the Watts Group. Jared helps manage over 1,200 residential properties in our community, and he also plays a very active role on the Watts Group real estate team. He's married to Becky, and they have a son, Maddox, and he's looking to get more involved in the community and thought Rotary was a great way to expand his network and give back. And if I remember right, he got involved right away when we did our tree planting back in October. I believe Jared was there helping us plant trees early that morning, which is a great sign. So Jared, we're excited to have you join us. So Bill and Jared, you both have been approved for membership in our Rotary Club because we believe you to be worthy representatives of your vocation, interested in the ideals of Rotary, and willing to do your share in translating those ideals into action. Rotary is non-political, non-discriminatory, and non-denominational. Our impact starts with our members, people who work tirelessly with their clubs to solve some of the most difficult challenges in our communities and around the world. Our efforts are supported by Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation turns our donations into grants that fund the great work that our members and partners do both locally and around the globe. When you become a member in the Iowa City Union Rotary Club, you will be joining over 1.2 million Rotarians around the world. Rotary uses the term JET, J-E-T, to describe what we do so well: join leaders, exchange ideas, and take action. Your challenge as a new Rotarian is to get involved in our club. We all know we get out of it what we put into it. Join at least one committee and bring guests and introduce them to Rotary. So I now invite my fellow Rotarians and our members to please join me in a virtual round of applause for our newest members, Bill and Jared. And if we were there, Bill and Jared, in person, you would be getting a standing ovation. So we'd like to invite you both to unmute yourself and just say a few words. And Bill, we'll start with you if you want to say a few words.
Sure, I'm very excited about joining Rotary. It's a way to get more involved in Iowa City. And I've always been a believer in nonprofits and the good work of Rotary. I want to thank Robin Hepker, who introduced me to the idea. And then of course, Steve Schomburg, who was kind enough to sponsor me. Thank you, Steve and Robin.
Great, thank you, Bill. We're excited to have you in our club and look forward to getting to know you better. And Jared, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for letting me be a part of the group. Just the little bit of interaction that I've had at this point, it's been incredible. Very interesting speakers. Starting to recognize more and more faces. So yeah, very, very excited about being involved with this group and giving back in the community.
Great. Yep. Welcome, Jared. And to any of our members, if you see Bill or Jared around the community, stop them and say hi, and hopefully we'll be able to see him in person in the near future sometime. So with that, we're on to our program today. We've got a great program about the United Way. And I'd like to introduce one of our past Rotary presidents, Jim Connor, to provide the introduction today. Jim?
Great. Thank you, Eric. Happy to be here, and greetings, fellow Rotarians. This is one of my favorite programs of the year is when the folks from United Way come and visit with us. And it's a great time of year for us to hear from them, both because they're entering into their annual capital campaign, but just also generally because this time of year, I think a lot of us think about charitable giving opportunities. And if you're like me, sometimes you think, gosh, there's so many wonderful causes. How do I choose who to give to? And it's always been my opinion that the United Way does the best job of vetting all of the local charitable causes and selecting a great number of them that are all very worthy of support and funneling funds to so many of those programs in need. So very excited to hear the United Way program today. With us from the United Way, our capital campaign leader, Janet Lyness. Janet is in her fourth term as Johnson County Attorney. She worked as Assistant County Attorney in the Criminal and Civil Divisions before her 2006 election as County Attorney. Janet has lived in Iowa City since arriving as a freshman at the University of Iowa after graduating high school in Bettendorf. There, she received her BS and JD from the University of Iowa. Janet has volunteered with the United Way and several United Way agencies, including DVIP, RVIP, Community, and the Free Lunch Program. She also serves on the board of directors for the Iowa City Foreign Relations Council and the Pilot Club of Iowa City. Her husband, John Wadsworth, is on faculty at the University of Iowa, and they have one daughter, Gabrielle, who works at West Music. Also with us, we're excited to have Trisha Smith, and I think everyone knows Trisha, and she kind of needs no introduction, but I did learn a few things about Trisha in her short bio here, so I'm excited to read it. Trisha Smith is Vice President of Development and Marketing for the United Way of Johnson and Washington counties. Her focus on resource development includes corporate and donor relations, annual and all fundraising events. She also oversees content creation, communication platforms, and enjoys marketing the amazing things that United Way and their funding partner agency are doing for our communities. Before joining the team at the United Way, she served as Regional Development Director for the Salvation Army, held leadership positions with Verizon Business, St. Paul's United Methodist Preschool, and Four Oaks. She and her husband, Nathan, reside in Lisbon, Iowa, where they raised two daughters, Cassie, who is attending med school at Midwestern University, and who recently graduated with a degree in architecture from Judson University. Trisha enjoys walking her dog, running, and being with friends. We'll turn it over to you, Janet and Trisha, and thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you, Jim, for that wonderful introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So just give us 1 second to get all presented for you guys. If that's thing, you should be able to see our PowerPoint presentation cover screen up here. And there we go. So Janet and I are going to go ahead and present with you today. Janet, that was a great introduction for you. Anything else you'd like to add to that before we share a little bit about what you're seeing on your screen today?
Only that I'm really enjoying being involved in the United Way campaign this year. It's been really fun. And of course, as you already know, Trisha, she's so much fun to start with. That's been a great thing. But really the enthusiasm for United Way and recognizing what the need is this year has made it really rewarding. So thank you for inviting us to be here.
Thank you, Janet. So in past years, we have done our trivia presentation around the holiday time, and we thought that we needed to refresh that up. So this year, just want to make sure that you're paying attention to what you're seeing. And so you will notice that on each screen, there are some snowflakes. So you can see on this screen, we have 4 snowflakes there. What we would encourage you to do, if you would like, is to tally those snowflakes as we go through. And at the end of our presentation, we'll find out who was paying the most attention to our screen. With that, Janet, I'm going to turn it back to you to introduce our campaign video.
Yes, so this is really exciting. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Amanda Gorman, but she's our first National Youth Poet Laureate. She spoke at the inauguration back in January, and she volunteered to write a poem and do this presentation for United Way and has agreed to let us. So please join me in welcoming Amanda Gorman.
And I will let you know this video does start out in silence with just words, but then you'll hear some music and some words after that.
It's hard to hope, hard to cope with crisis. But while we might be all alone, we've never been more tightly tethered, because we'll only weather this unknown together. So we get to work. We mend, we don't break even when we bend. Somewhere, another mom pays her bills. Somewhere, another child eats his fill. We are the world's neighbors, making our communities brighter, greater, fighting for every person in the neighborhood. We, the coming of the common good, so dare to care, to be hope-sighted. We're never divided, for when we live to give, we always live united.
Great. I always get goosebumps no matter how many times I've seen that video. So I think it's really inspiring. And our need here, as I know you all know, is still great and even greater than it has been in the past. There are over 3,000 children who are living in poverty, even in our community. 3 Johnson County food pantries served nearly 20,000 of our neighbors just in this last fiscal year, and the demand's increasing. The percent of households who owns a home rather than rent is much higher for non-Hispanic white households than for Black households in Johnson County. As a matter of fact, of 60% of non-Hispanic white households own their own home, while only 20% of Black households own their own home. So we're seeing the disparity in the needs in our own community.
We just wanted to take a minute to kind of travel back in time a little bit. We've all traveled through this journey together. with the pandemic and with our community, also with adding the derecho storm on top of that. I wanted to share kind of the role that United Way has played throughout that process. And again, don't forget to count snowflakes. We have always had a seat at the disaster table as a member of the Johnson County community. And so immediately our team was at that table virtually, of course, as the pandemic made itself known in our community. And immediately the community turned to our team to say, what can you do? So one of the first things we did was mobilize our network of volunteers, and they produced nearly 5,000 face masks that we were able to distribute out to our partner agencies for both their staff as well as their clients. One of the things our partner agencies continually made us aware of was the fact that they had lost a high percentage of their staff team because they were made of volunteers. So they were having to allocate funds from other areas of their budget to bring staff in, to buy PPE supplies, to keep their team safe, to keep their clients safe. So we wanted to support that. And so we provided those face masks as well as face shields for them to help with that burden. In addition to that, one of the early on identifiers for the pandemic was the fact that there was a lot of information floating out there, but there was a lot of confusion about reliable information. So United Way of Johnson and Washington County stepped up to play that role by providing our community, first of all, with a daily email. That email was comprised of a little bit of that broader stroke of what was happening in our country and our nation, but really drilled down into what resources were available in our community, what were some of the events that were happening in the community to support what we were doing, as well as many other topics that really focused around education, health, and financial stability. We also wanted to make sure the questions that were floating around in our community could be answered and answered by professionals. So United Way partnered with our emergency management with Sam Jarvis. We partnered with Mercy Iowa City. We partnered with University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics with their staff team to provide 3 different panel discussions to date. These started prior to the actual vaccination releases in our community. And most recently, we discussed continuing to mask as well as that Delta variant impact. We were so thankful for these professionals lending their time and talent. And if you remember, even for one of those, our very own Barb Thomas was our moderator. So that was quite enjoyable. But we did allow, again, our community to put out questions that they had, to ask specific questions and get those questions answered. And we were very proud of how those events rolled out. We continue to do what we always do through the pandemic as well, which was to partner with other organizations and companies to fill the needs in our community. We know we partnered with our new Rotary Club here, and we delivered so many meals to our healthcare workers to thank them for what they had done in the community and had been doing over the last many months under very difficult conditions. We also continued some of our programs. So we continued our Adopt a Family program. Now, an interesting growth in that program prior to the pandemic. So in 2019, our Adopt a Family program served 49 families. And all of those families are referred to us by our partner agencies, as well as the Iowa City Community School District liaisons, who are supporting families who are working hard to be successful. Last year, during the pandemic, we supported 112 families. And this year, hot off the presses for information, we are supporting 140 families. That's 394 children, 199 adults. All of those families are being adopted by local companies, by local families, by local organizations and teams to provide a holiday this year. The inflation of cost is really making an impact on our local neighbors. And that's really being seen by our adoptive families when we ask them, please share with us, what are the needs? What are the things you want for the holidays? Once again, we're hearing from them rice, pots and pans, toothbrushes, toothpaste. So we're making sure those needs are being met. We continue to drive our United Way 211 service to make sure that if you had questions, first of all, about finding resources in your community, many people were new to that experience. 211 provides that by simply picking up the phone and calling 211 to say, I'm struggling. I can't pay my utility bill and my rent. What can I do? And they'll direct you right to a local resource. But in addition to that, Our 211 service provided over 70,000 callers with information about COVID-19. Not only did they provide them with concrete factual information, but if that individual who called in was in a health crisis, they connected them to a healthcare provider. If they were in an emotional crisis, they connected them to a mental health professional. So they were getting direct care immediately upon their call. Finally, I just wanted to share over this last year, United Ways has always had a part of our mission, diversity, equity, inclusion. It's just who we are. And so this year we partnered with United Ways all across Iowa to provide our communities with a 21-day equity challenge. And I bring this up because not only did we bring to light on a daily email information and questions and strong, good literature, blogs, music to make us think about diversity, equity, inclusion, but those things centered not only about race and gender, but they also centered around barriers, around childcare, all sorts of different barriers in the community that we don't think about, accessibility. Maybe we overlook some of those things on a day-to-day basis. And it was very well participated in by our community, and we were very proud of that. Also, just wanted to share here, so sorry, I'm being Dan today. So my script says Dan and I'm Trish, and it gets a little confusing, I apologize, so count snowflakes. Also, we just wanted to remind everybody, I know we've presented to this group before, but it is important to know we still really stand on a strong stool at United Way, and the legs of those stools comprise of birth through adult education support, access to healthcare, and building financial stability. We know that if those three legs are filled and strong, that individuals and families in our community have the chance to be successful. So we stand by those, we stand on that, and we're very proud to partner with our agencies who really direct services towards that. With that, I will let, well, I guess I'm still talking, but Janet, how about you talk about our partner agencies? I'm done talking for a little while. I'd rather have them hear from you.
Sure. Our partner agencies are really what make a difference in our community. I mean, all of these different agencies, there's 29 of them, and they really do help everybody from youth to senior citizens, from everything from mental health to food needs, to shelter, things like that. So between United Way and Johnson and Washington counties, our donors really look to United Way to be able to divide up the money into the organizations and with the organizations who need it the most. So you can see the different organizations here in this slide, and I won't try to go over them all, but I'll remind you to count snowflakes though too. So but they all are really the agencies that help us make this a strong and thriving community. Okay, we want to introduce you to a new acronym, ALICE. You've probably heard of Karen, but this is ALICE. And ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. So we have so many people in our community who are working hard, but they're still living paycheck to paycheck. And that was the situation with Karen. She was married, had a career, had 3 beautiful daughters. Everything seemed to go well. And then things changed. Her marriage became untenable. She had to leave, and she had to start over again in a single income family, having to support her children, where she had to make decisions about whether they could afford food versus healthcare. She was somebody who was certainly struggling. So even though she was employed, she was barely making it from paycheck to paycheck, and it didn't take much of anything to completely throw her off the path and not be able to make ends meet. So fortunately, she found out about United Way's 211 call center and was able to call and get connected with resources through United Way. The 211 specialist connected her with the services that allowed her to specialize her family situation or stabilize her family situation and get on a path to financial security. What she said about it was that United Way services gave my family a second chance, which transformed our lives. So Karen and her family are now financially secure, and they're paying it forward. Your gifts to United Way will go to people like Karen, who is affected by all the things, all the needs in the community, but she learned how to reach out, and she is giving back now, and we ask you to do the same to support people like her and her family.
Well, one of the things that I get the privilege to do is that I get to speak on behalf of our co-chairs at many different presentations. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm being Dan Clay today. So Dan Clay is our other co-chair this year for our campaign. He's the Dean of the College of Education of the University of Iowa. And he and Janet both stepped up just so quickly when we asked them to be a part of this experience. And when they aren't with us, although Janet did get to join us today, I get the privilege of thanking you on their behalf. They encourage you to learn more about United Way, to ask questions about United Way, and to support United Way in whatever capacity that you can. And so I know Janet's able to do that today, but on Dan's behalf, I extend those comments to you as well. Now we get to share a little bit more about that holiday Adopt a Family. Janet, do you want to start us out about a couple of these programs and what's happening this holiday season, since it is our holiday program?
Yes, so holiday Adopt a Family is really exciting, where groups of individuals, families, et cetera, could adopt a family and actually provide for them what they need for the holidays. Food, gifts, things like that. It's a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, because of COVID, you won't probably get to meet with the family, and items will be taken to United Way, and the lucky staff at United Way get to interact with the families. But it's something you can do that would really help a family in need at this time. Obviously, the Winter Volunteering and Giving Guide is something that we encourage you to take a look at. It's on the website, I believe, Trisha, and it includes one-time and short-term volunteer activities. If you wanted to go out and actually do something to help in the community, that would be great. Do you want to talk about the Give One More Gift?
I would love to. Boy, we're getting really good at this passing it back and forth sort of thing. We just encourage every year to kind of step back at the holiday season, and if you are able to give just one more gift this holiday season. Our holiday season campaign this year is called Be Hope for the Holidays. And we know the impact that your dollar makes in this community is great. We also know that our trusted partner agencies can take your dollar and double and triple that. I know when I go to the grocery store with $10 in hand to buy that, few things I need, and then I end up buying probably 10 more things, I spend maybe $10, $20 on that trip. If you give that same $10, $20, to United Way to invest in our partner agencies, they can double, triple, even quadruple that. Their buying power leverages that dollar into something so much greater. So we do encourage you, if you're a regular donor, first of all, we thank you for that. We thank you for your support. If you're a regular volunteer, we thank you for that. And I don't mean just a volunteer maybe connected with United Way, I mean with any organization. Volunteers drive our organizations. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, if that's something we didn't learn and be reiterated into our brains with our pandemic, when our partner agencies, some of them lost almost 60% of their workforce because volunteers were not able to safely be in their environments. So please consider just giving that one more gift. There's a QR code on here. You can visit unitedwayjwc.org. And I already put into the chat the link directly to the Be Hope for the Holidays campaign. And I actually know one or two of our Rotarians who are on the call today are already committing to making a pledge to that. So I thank you very much for that as well. So we're going to open it up to questions before we get to that last slide, which is our snowflake slide to reveal how many snowflakes you should have seen throughout the presentation. So I would just encourage anybody to go ahead and open up your mic and shoot us a question that Janet and I can hopefully give you a response to, and then we can continue on.
Yep. Yeah, if you have a question, please click a raise hand or put it in the chat and we'll call on you. Ryan Bell, Ryan, you have a question.
Yeah, Trisha, I participated like halfway in that 21-day equity challenge. It was, a lot of information and great information. Is there a way to kind of go back to that and plow through it a little bit more in depth?
Absolutely, that's a great question. We do have all of the information housed on a website. And I'd be happy, I'll kick that to you, Ryan, and anybody else wants that to view that information, go ahead and shoot me an email and I will kick it to you as well. because we did proprietarily develop all that information for our 21-day challenge, and we're happy to continue to share it out to our community. So Ryan, I'll kick you a link to that, and anybody else who emails me, I will include you in that email as well.
Chuck, you had a question?
Yeah, Trisha, I just want to share that I always appreciate your enthusiasm and your positivity. This pandemic has had to have been hard for you as leader of United Way. At Hancher, we belong to a group, it's called the Major University Presenters, and I know they have provided a lot of support for us. Is there a national organization that you belong to that helps with your professional development, and really has helped you, guided you through the last, 22 or 23 months?
Chuck, that's a great question. Each United Way in each community is its own nonprofit organization. We reflect our community's needs, therefore we're all slightly different here, Portland, Los Angeles, wherever you should go. But United Way Worldwide is our larger parent organization that we do have membership in. And I can't even tell you how proud I am of the amount of support that we got on the kind of more the development side of the pandemic. They leveraged their power on that national level, first of all, in the United States, to partner with companies to provide support. And some of those supports were things like our Lyft program and getting lifts to and from vaccines, to and from medical care type of things. But they also provided support when it came to drilling dollars down into the community. And then finally, more specifically to your question, we have a shared market platform that we can go ahead and utilize to help enhance all of our development of content. So what you see sometimes is developed just by me on my dining room table at, 9 o'clock at night, having some fun, or it's developed by a shared content. So a good example of that is the Amanda Gorman campaign. She shared that with us through a New York marketing firm and then said, United Ways, you can use this. So we were provided that video so we could bookmark that with our local information on either side, the beginning and the end, but they provided the content to us and all I had to do was put the captioning underneath it. So it was a very gracious gift. And because we're very sensitive to our admin costs, that makes a huge difference in making sure the true amount of your dollar goes directly through United Way to the people who need it. So we appreciate it for that reason as well.
Thanks.
Great. Devin, you had a question?
Yeah, I know the United Way keeps track of trends locally and the needs in the community. Have there been any surprises over the last year of things that have come up as we're continuing?
That's a great question. I think there has been some trends that have definitely happened that have been very interesting. I would definitely first start out with the housing market trend. And though we all kind of look at that trend as, wow, houses are really selling quickly, or they're selling for asking price or a percentage above asking price, and that's just amazing. We see that trend definitely impacting people who are just trying to pay their rent and finding a place to live. So that upward trend of cost analysis for your home and what you could get for your home in terms of price and value maybe was a positive for some people, but for people who were struggling, that was a very difficult thing. The other trend most recently, I think, would be our inflation trend. With inflation, we're all seeing this. We're all seeing it's harder to go to the supermarket and, pay the same amount we did maybe for a pound of hamburger that we did maybe 2 years ago. And that extra $1 a pound or whatever the ratio is compared to 2 years ago, that impact is very, very challenging on our Alice families. So again, these are working families that are living paycheck to paycheck. And that increase by simply that $1 a pound for a pound of hamburger forces them to start to make some very difficult decisions. Am I going to be able to pay rent? Am I going to be able to buy food for my family, pay my utilities, get my kid to and from school, pay for the gasoline, pay for the car payment? That impact of inflation on these local families, we've heard, has been very, very challenging for them. Some of those families also were the same families who had very good jobs prior to the pandemic. And when the pandemic put its head, or kind of made its presence more so, excuse me, in our community, we also heard that they lost their jobs, or some of them lost their jobs. They went out right away and maybe they found 2 part-time jobs to try and fill the gap. But with those 2 part-time jobs, they were being paid less and they were not receiving the level of a benefit package that they did prior to support their family's healthcare. So that trend has been very concerning. I'll just tip for a minute on the last topic, which I would say is the employment market and the issue of hiring an employee. When you bring an employee on board with many companies, organizations, profit or nonprofit, you have to do a background check. And these background checks have been bogged down to the point where it's almost completely shut down. So here we're trying to hire anybody and everybody we can to make a difference in our community in all levels, in all different occupations. And if that background check is a required component to your hiring process, you're not being supported to move forward with that hire. And if that hire waits long enough, you know what they're going to do right now in our job market? They're going to go to somebody else and take a job elsewhere. So there are issues that are centering around that for our companies in our community as well. So I would say those are some of the trends I would definitely speak to.
I would also add that mental health is becoming a huge issue, seeing it at the schools, in the community. My office handles mental commitments, and they used to take, a couple of hours, and now they're taking all morning for us to just handle the number of mental commitment hearings. And we're seeing that with NAMI being very busy. Abby, community mental health is very busy. The county, along with Abby Health and other municipalities, opened the Guideline Center in February, and they are busy all the time. So community mental health is desperately in need of additional funds and resources, and mental health is the other area we're seeing a growth in.
And if I could follow up with that, Janet brings up an excellent point. We've heard this topic kind of start to be thrown around there, mental health issues. We had the privilege of having Abby join our cabinet meeting last month. Abby Mental Health provides services across our community, but also across Iowa in many communities. And one of the facts that she brought, amongst many, which were incredibly earth-shaking, was the fact that there's this forgotten population of individuals who maybe recently graduated from high school or college. So there are young professionals in the community. I think we've categorized this group and thought to ourselves that they're doing great. They're in their virtual worlds. They grew up on technology. They're all doing fine. But the reality is the biggest increase in calls that they've received for support were from specifically that community, from young professionals, those who have recently graduated again from high school, or maybe recently from college. And now I'm in a profession, I'm in a new city, my job is remote, I'm working out of an apartment, I don't know anybody in my community. Mental health is really taking its toll on that isolation, not only again for that group, but also for many other groups, but really specifically, she brought that group up. And I thought that was very interesting. And it's not one that I've reflected on very much. And I thought that was really important.
Trisha, you had shared a compelling number with us a few years ago, something like when you consider the umbrella of United Way and all your partner agencies, you touch the lives. I want to say it was a 35 or 40% of the people in our community. It was a very large number, which shows your wide reach. Is it close to half now?
I would have to return back to our partner agencies for that. We will be collecting new information on our community and the depth of the United Way reach, as well as what has been impacting into our community. Chuck's question earlier is something that we address. Every 10 years, United Way launches a critical study of our community. And so we will take down information, we will do research, we purchase data, and a group of volunteers will specifically focus in each of our core values, so that financial stability, health, and education, to find out where are the numbers right now, what's happening, and what are new needs that have developed. And I think this study for the next 10 years to set goals for change is going to be very telling, specifically because of the pandemic. I think we're going to learn a lot. And probably stuff that we haven't been listening very well to maybe in the past, or maybe it's just completely a new development in the past. But yes, we know that all of our partner agencies are seeing an increase in clients. And specifically, again, that is related to the fact that maybe they have a negative impact directly because of COVID, but maybe it's because of another issue in the community in terms of their job, in terms of their stability in the community. And for the first time, they're having to reach out for support. I don't have a number right in front of me. It was 1 in 3 that we touched before. I would imagine that's increased now.
Sure, great. Well, Janet and Trisha, thank you so much for your great leadership and the great work you're doing on behalf of United Way. And thank you for sharing your message with us today. What we do in honor, oh yeah, go ahead, 53.
We had 53 snowflakes, just in case you were wondering. And if you got that number right, congratulations. We love the fact that you paid close attention. This last snowflake was the last snowflake. So with that though, I just love this part of the program because every time it makes me smile. Eric, tell us what we won for presenting today.
Yes, well, Trisha, you're aware of this, but Janet, our Rotary Club each week in honor of our speakers, we make a donation to the Rotary Polio Plus program in your honor. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation matches that 2 to 1. So that'll result in 70 polio vaccinations in your honor all around the world. So a little kind of token of our thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you. That's great. You just made my day. So.
And final reminders, our program next week, we've got University of Iowa Athletic Director Gary Barta with us next week talking about Iowa athletics. And we like to conclude each meeting with the Rotary 4-way test. So if everyone could please unmute yourself, and we've got the 4-way test coming up on the screen here momentarily. So please join me in the Rotary 4-way test of the things we think, say, do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all
concerned?
Build
goodwill, better friendships.
Will be
beneficial to all concerned.
All concerned.
Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Bye-bye.